Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Welcome to the other side of the struggle. This is a podcast where we talk about trauma, how to heal it, and then how to take it and use it to unlock your mission and your potential, and to use it to live your very best dream life. When you're dealing with betrayal trauma, it can be hard to know how to heal it, how to stop the pain, and to know what your next steps are to take in your own life. And these are the questions that we try to answer here. Trauma has the ability to rob us of our joy and identity, which is why it's so miserable to experience. But with the right tools and with the right mindset, we can totally reclaim that joy and even use this trauma to strengthen ourselves, so that way trauma does not knock us off of our joy again. Living your dream life should be a non-negotiable, but trauma tends to try to negotiate that with you. And even though trauma is not something that we will completely ever be free of in our life, the pain is negotiable. This is why I created Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching and this podcast, is because I want my listeners, I want my clients to live, truly live free from the prison that trauma can put you in. I want you to live on the other side of the struggle. Okay, I want you to stop what you're doing right now for just a minute, and I really want you to hear me out. I want you to go right now to erinanderson.kartra.com/page/heart of gold. There you are going to find a free meditation just for you from me
This meditation is amazing. Let me tell you a little bit about what it's going to give you. Okay? Number one, it's going to help boost your confidence. If you are dealing with trauma, then you are most likely dealing with a confidence issue as well. And it's something that you are really, really wanting back. Number two, it is going to help you find security in your situations in your life because it's going to help you gain a sense of self love and some self trust. The third thing this is going to give you is an ability to escape the trauma that you're experiencing right now, this very minute, and help you find peace and joy and love and a deep appreciation for you and your experiences. This is going to really help you reconnect with yourself. So, that is very, very, very important when you are dealing with healing from trauma. So, again, I'm going to tell you what that website is that you need to go to. erinanderson.kartra, KARTRA.com/page/heart of gold. Capital HEARTOF, capital GOLD. Go check out this meditation. Please claim it for yourself because it is 100% a gift from me to you to help you heal right now from trauma. All my love. Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. Okay, guys, I am so psyched for this recording and this podcast today because we have with us the fabulous Naomi Fox Reina. She is a good friend of mine, and we've been chatting back and forth a little bit, and she is a light field human design teacher. She's been doing this since 2016, and to be honest, you guys, I'm learning about this, but the more I learn about it, the more it just like totally lights me up, and like I get all tingly from my toes to the top of my head because I love what this teaches us about how intentional God is and like how intentional he is about putting us on the planet and how that figures into our ability to heal from trauma and to heal from the things that happen in this world. And so I really want to give a big shout out and welcome to Naomi. So thank you so much for being here, Naomi.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. Okay. So, Naomi, I've got some questions, like a little bit about my audience. These are people, like I've got men and women coming to this podcast now, and they have been betrayed. They have seen a lot of trauma in their life at the hands of their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a big struggle out there. And like, I completely understand this. This is something that I've gone through myself, healed it. And to this day, there's actually still pieces of me that's still pulling it in and healing. And I'm finding more and more stuff, to heal and to create some amazing things from it. So what would you say to these people? Like, one of the biggest things that I have realized is learning how to accept where you are at right now. Because one of the things we want to do is we want to be where we want to be, right? But that doesn't happen unless if we first and foremost accept where we're at right now.
100% agree.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what would you say to someone who is just like, oh my gosh, I like want to be here, blah, 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 blah. But you're like, hey, let's reel it in. Let's figure out what's really going on and learn to love this space right now. How would you explain that to someone? How would you tell them to learn to love this?
Yeah, it's tricky. And I myself have been through betrayal trauma. I had a spouse who had multiple affairs, and I had my very best friend of 5 years started a hate blog against me and was directly involved in a federal lawsuit against me that hit on my 30th birthday. And then she continued this hate blog for 2 years and betrayed in the most horrific fashion. So, like,
Oh
I
dear.
understand betrayal, like, from multiple points. Um, and I have done the very arduous work of healing that, both generationally as well as personally, and cleaning up that energy so that I no longer am in a state where I don't fear that that will happen again. When for a long time, of course, that was a huge fear. So, for me, my journey largely has been about telling myself the truth. And
Yes.
if I could tell the world one thing and they could actually hear it to their hearts, it's actually not about astrology and human design as much as, like, I deeply love those topics. It would be about that it is safe to tell the truth to yourself. Because for me, for a very long time, I was not telling myself the truth because I didn't think that it was safe. I had been cut off from my own truth for whatever reason. I have my logical explanations, but I also think that this world does a fantastic job of severing us from telling ourselves the truth. There are
Yes.
some people that they just come to this planet and they just tell themselves the truth all the time. And I think that's beautiful, but I think that that's the exception, not the rule.
I would
And
agree.
even now, like, so in like, gave you a quick overview of some of the most horrific things I've ever been through. And in the now, I'm 42 years old. I have 3 children. My oldest is 18. My youngest is 11. I am married to the most amazing man on the planet for me. I couldn't even fathom a better relationship. He is supportive and kind and funny and just dynamic and powerful and very equally yoked with me. And I don't worry for a second that he's going to betray me or harm me in any way. And so doing all of that work, I still have to regularly check in with myself and give myself a second where it's like I get the ego to, like, take the hands off the wheel and be like, no, but seriously, like, how are you doing? Like, where
Yeah.
I let myself still be super honest with myself, because I still have a propensity to lie to myself. It's not something that
Yeah.
I think we just heal and we're like, okay, done. I think it's a personality trait. And I think there's a lot of really positive things to that. But in the shadow, we can get ourselves in some pretty funky situations where you look up and you're like,
Yeah.
how did this happen? Like, how is
Yeah.
this my life? And so I think it's just sitting with it and getting to the square one point of understanding, at least on a conscious level, like realizing that that's where you're trying to go, but then getting it to where it's at, like, a soul heart level, that it is safe to tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
Because if I had told myself the truth, I would not have done a lot of things. I was like, well, I don't really want this, but I'm going to do it. And I believe that is what had put me in a place of being so incongruent with myself that betrayal could just march in and have its way, because I believe that that was a very loving universe. And the people who betrayed me were doing so out of love on some level to help me see how out of alignment that I
Yes.
was, because I needed to be in alignment. So now I thank them for their
Yes.
part.
Same here.
Obviously, there's boundaries. They don't get to be in my life. They're not trustworthy. They're dangerous, yada, yada. But there's not animosity.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I completely agree with you. And one of the things that, as you're talking, one of the things that came up as I was thinking about my own healing journey and, accepting the truth, like the absolute to the core truth, um, is this idea that one of the things that really was showing up for me, telling me I was out of alignment, was this idea that I had to control everything, like my environment, my relationships. I had to control my husband and his pornography. I had to do this. I had to do that. And oh my gosh, like I felt like I was being split in a million different ways, right? And I would even say to some degree, there's still some of that there, and I'm not ashamed of it, because it's still something I'm learning from, right? But like you, I am so crazy grateful that my husband struggled with pornography. Had he not, and had my mom, same thing with my mother, she really struggled with anger issues when I was a kid. Obviously that led to some abuse, right? But I have a fantastic relationship with my mom now. And the reason being is because of that truth piece. When
Mm.
you are in alignment with truth and you are giving yourself the truth, you're able to speak the truth. And through truth comes very solid, very meticulous boundaries that give you so much foundation. You know what I mean? So I love what you're saying. Yeah, like, accepting where you're at right now is number one, getting down into the truth of the situation. And you cannot do that if you're constantly pushing it away, begging to be on the other side. You have
And
to
it's
actually do the journey.
And it's downright terrifying. I
Oh,
mean, if you've
yeah.
never really gotten into the this is what is happening, this is the reality, this is how I contributed to being here, this is how other people contributed to being here. If you haven't done that on some level, you're still perpetuating the lie within yourself that you can handle it, that it's going to be okay, that you can keep all the plates spinning, or you can keep the front up. I remember being obsessed constantly with how things came across and how I represented myself, and what could people see in the background of photos, or what were people saying about me behind my back. And that level of control, like you said, is, first of all, it's crazy making.
Yes.
Second of all, it is the most consistent and pervasive lie that this world has to offer of, hey, by the way, if you could just have controlled this or that, if you could have made this happen or made that not happen, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. And so we are constantly trying to kind of proactively control our environment so we won't get hurt again. But the truth is that pain is not the enemy. The avoidance of pain is the enemy.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I love that. That's probably actually going to be my soundbite right there. That's so good. It is. It's the avoidance of the pain, because the thing is, let me talk to you, my audience, for just a second about what to do when you find yourself in this position where you're like, oh, crap, right? Because I still find myself in that moment. Like, just a couple of days ago, I was out on a walk, and it was a good thing because I was ready to kill my husband. I was like, you stinker, right? Actually, I was thinking some much more colorful things than that, but we'll just keep it to you stinker, right? And as I was out on my walk, it's such a natural propensity for me now to go and think to myself, okay, how did I perpetuate this situation? What were my actions in the situation? What did I do? What was I thinking? Because I realize now I have no control over my husband. I have no control over my kids. Like, I have influence, but I have zero control, right?
100%. Yes.
The only person I can control is the one that's sitting in my seat right now.
Yes.
And as I've been thinking, as I was out walking and thinking, I realized my husband had been trying to tell me something for years. And that's, you think you're better than me. And I was like, no, I don't. I think I'm equal, blah, blah, blah. And as I caught myself in the situation, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually do think that. And I marched myself back home and immediately apologized. And I was like, I am so sorry. Like, wow, that is something I need to change, right? And since changing that and shifting that and being more aware of that, it's created more harmony between me and my husband. And this is the thing, like, it didn't feel good for me to say, oh man, dang it, there's that pride again, right? But here's the deal. Forgive yourself immediately, because you're human. You make mistakes. There was something I was completely unconscious of until I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Immediately forgive yourself, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn some things. And as you learn, if you don't want to stay stuck in that feeling of, oh crap, right? Forgive yourself immediately for it, take ownership on it, and do the right thing, which is either apologize, or as you're aware of it, just change it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. And like you did, staying in curiosity is vital. Curiosity is the opposite of judgment. You cannot hold curiosity and judgment simultaneously. It's impossible. And I believe curiosity is one of the highest vibrational places that we can possibly ever be in this life, where we're like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, where you can think back and you're like, that's so fascinating. I was totally screaming at my children. I wonder why I did that, instead of, oh, I'm so bad, or I'm so terrible, I'm an awful mom or an awful dad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not helpful. You can get stuck there. It's
Yeah.
literally damning yourself. You are stopping your progress
Yes.
when you get caught up in the guilt and the shame. And I say
Yes.
both guilt and shame, not just shame, but guilt and shame can stop your progress. But if you get curious and you can actually keep going until you get to the truth, it will speak to you in a way that can actually be useful. Because,
Yes.
like, so you and I are both not only Sagittariuses, but we actually have the same birthday, which is
Yes.
supremely awesome.
I love it.
Yes. Fun fact, C.S. Lewis is also same birthday as us. So
Oh
that's
my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm totally in rapture now, so keep
Right.
going here.
And so Sagittarius is the truth seeker.
Interesting.
Sagittarius says, give me truth or give me death. And sometimes it takes us a while to get through life until we realize that without truth, I want nothing. Because you have people are like, oh, well, I'm truthful, but it hurts people's feelings. It's like, that's not truth.
No.
Truth always accompanies light and love and compassion.
Yes.
If it does not have those other components, it is something else. But the reason why I teach light-filled astrology and human design is because when you fill something with light, when you illuminate everything around it, you can see it much more accurately, and you can see what's going on. Why is there this struggle? What is the problem? What created this in the first place? If you put an object in a dimly lit room and you go in and you try to analyze that object, that's the equivalent of being in judgment. You can only see part of it.
Yeah.
But if you illuminate the situation, which I believe comes from God and comes from that higher vibration place of curiosity, you dismiss shame and judgment and ego and all of that. And you say, thank you so much. I know you're trying to help. I need you to step out while I look at this so I can actually see it accurately, because without accuracy, I can't get anywhere. And just allow yourself to let the truth wash over you. And then you have power, because we are meant to have power within us. When we're like, oh, I'm such a bad parent, or I'm a terrible spouse, I created this, or they are a terrible spouse, because there's no power in that. The power is being thrown and spurted out everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not staying inside of you. And so it is about retaining power, because one of the most powerless states to be in is betrayal.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. And here's the deal. Like, I love my clients. I love the people listening to this, and this might sting a little bit listening to this, but the truth of the matter is if you're stuck in betrayal, it is actually a type of self-betrayal when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something I realized either. So again, like, zero judgment when I say that, okay? Like, this is totally coming from love, but as I look back, the thoughts that were going on in my head were a complete self-betrayal, because I had to I asked myself, would I say these things to someone I admired, someone I adored, someone I wanted to spend time with, and would I say these things to my best friend? And I got a no, 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 no on all fronts. No wonder I felt so betrayed. But yet I was sitting here blaming myself,
Yeah.
blaming my husband, blaming my mom, blaming my children, blame, 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 blame. And that's the antithesis of ownership. When you actually get out there and just own your life, now all of a sudden you can do that thing called being curious. We are absolutely meant to be curious in this life. That is what it means to be a child and being childlike.
Mhm.
You think
Absolutely.
about, I've got 6 kids, all this like ranging from the ages of almost 16 to 2 years old now. And they're all curious in some way, and I love it.
Mhm.
I love it because I want them to go out there and explore. I want them to go out there and find truth. I want them to go out there and love life. That is what we're meant to do, and we cannot do that if we're not curious,
Absolutely.
you know?
And speaking of curiosity, did you know you can see in your astrology chart what area of life you're going to struggle with the most when it comes to control?
Ooh, okay. All right. Have at me. I want to see this. Like I gave just to my listeners, I gave Naomi my astrology information before this call. So I am curious, like what does that say?
Mhm.
Go
So,
ahead.
like, we're Sagittarius. Most people who've never ever done anything with astrology have no idea that there's so much more to it than that. Like, that's just where the
Yes.
sun was the moment that both you and I are born, but we're 3 years apart. So,
Mhm.
pretty much the rest of our chart is very different. And that means, like, your moon is in Libra and my moon is in Virgo. So, the minute that you were born, the moon was channeling the energy of Libra, balance, beauty, needing to have time to make your decisions of an emotional nature. Mine in Virgo is precision, accuracy. I analyze my emotions, all of that. So you have Mercury, Venus, all of it. You look at Saturn. Saturn is the governor of karma, timing, results, productivity, accolades. It is the great teacher in the way of, like, you will learn this lesson. You will cross every T, you will dot every I, you will do it in order, or you will start over. Every single one of us has an area of our chart where we have this mastery that we agreed to on a soul level before we came. This is not about being powerless, like we were talking about. This is, I believe, we chose to be born on the planet at the minute and location that we were. And that's that the moment you arrive is you take the snapshot of what was happening in the heavens, and that is your natal chart. So, my dear Erin, um,
I
your
can't.
Saturn is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is all about the forbidden, the secrets, betrayal. It's about
Oh.
what is unseen. It's about suspicion, and it's about power. Scorpio is the most powerful sign, and yours is in the first house, so it all has to do with yourself, because the first house has to do with me, a
Self.
number one. Yeah. Like the second house has to do with money, the third house has to do with siblings and short trips, fourth house is home and like early life, fifth house is children and creativity and creation and sensuality, sixth house is work, like it goes on, right?
Mhm.
So like your Saturn is, you're here to learn lessons of self-discipline, of the self, of the body, of the appearance of and also of your perception of yourself.
So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. You know what? I can totally see that.
Yeah.
I can completely see that because, yeah, I do. I think a lot about like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? That's something
it's a
that's
more
constantly
self-focused, and it's
Yeah.
not bad. I mean, your sun sign is in your second house, so you have a lot of energy. You have a lot of energy in your second house, the house of money and stuff and things and all of that. But your self-discipline, the area where you will be hardest on yourself. My Saturn is in my 10th house, which is the house of career and reputation. And I got sued in federal court for trademark infringement, tortious interference, and unfair competition at my Saturn return. Like, as it was happening, that's what went down. And it's just, you can't make this stuff up. Like, my reputation was destroyed, and Saturn is in my house of reputation. And so I've had my greatest and deepest lessons around that.
That's really interesting because you know what? You're right. You're right. Some of my greatest lessons are in like my image and stuff. Like I'm very, very
Image conscious.
and image conscious, but in a good way, I would say. But it wasn't always that way.
Is there a good way or a bad way? I mean, who's keeping score? Who's got the measuring stick anyway?
Yeah, and I see what you mean, but I'm saying like in a way of like, so, you know, weight is like a struggle. I don't know a better way to say that.
It's common with Saturn in the first house to have that because you're here to, because it is about appearance. Like somebody with Jupiter in the first house is probably very curvaceous because Jupiter just expands everything. But like Saturn in the first house, usually there will be a lot of focus on it. And sometimes that can mean a weight struggle, or it's somebody who's very into fitness or very into like, you know, that self-awareness.
Well, you know, and I will say this, like it used to be a really big struggle, you know, for me. But as you're saying, I mean, we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to, and I think this is actually really fascinating because you think about how intentional God is. Well, this is like the level of intention, like, you know,
to the minute,
to the second, to the minute.
Yes.
And he knows, like, and what a better way to say, guess what? God knows you than to say, let's put you in the first house in Saturn because this is something you're going to struggle with or something that you already are struggling with. But you know what? As the more I've turned to God and considered like this highest form of love, because that is my highest form of love, right? He's taught me who I am. He's taught me to appreciate my body in such a fantastic way. Like my body's my best friend. It's got my back. You know what I mean? But these are not things I used to think. But now, you know, I'm still like uncovering layers of this and learning about faith and learning about trust and learning about how to support my body and how to love my body even more, to love the spirit that is housed in this body and so many things. So like this is really interesting to hear this pegged so well. So
Yeah, we
People have no idea how much information they're giving me about themselves when they tell me the minute they're born and the
yeah.
city, like the day. I know things about you that you haven't even been able to put into words just by looking at your chart for a little bit.
Yes, you probably do. I will
Mhm.
go with that. And see, for me, I know things about people through intention, like not intention, but
Yes.
intuition. Like
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
highly intuitive, you
Right.
know? So, we're talking about understanding who you are and your potential of creation. And I love this because one of the greatest things that like this is why I think I'm probably like geeking out over this right now is because I loved figuring out my mission and my purpose from this. Now, granted, you don't necessarily have to have all this struggle to detect your mission and your purpose. There's so many good things that will also help you detect it, like your talents, your creativity. There's so many things that are there. But had I not, and I can say this with honest clarity, had I not experienced the things I experienced, I would not have known to go this direction. And it is 100% my mission, my purpose to be on this planet, not just for my children, which is, I love my calling as mom. Love it. But it's also to teach about betrayal trauma in as many different forms as possible because look how prevalent it is right now. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Well, betrayal comes in so many different forms. Most
Yes.
people isolate it to like being stabbed in the back or being cheated on or pornography or things like that. And those are not minimized whatsoever. It's just there's so many ways that we are betrayed. Like I've also experienced domestic violence. That's of course a form of betrayal.
That's
Like it's
big betrayal
super
right there.
betrayal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody
Yeah.
who comes into my space and violates it and repeatedly hurts my physical body is a massive betrayal. And like you said earlier, there's such a huge betrayal of self. And that was of course something that took years to really sit
Mhm.
with and work through and love myself through and stay curious about um and to stay vigilant about even now, just to be sure that I'm not betraying myself in
Yes.
my choices that I make. And it goes everything from the big scale stuff, like who do you choose to partner your life with and things like that, to like, am I self betraying when I overwork and I undersleep and I push myself?
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, that's something that I struggle with right now. The idea and like you were saying with that physical health piece.
Mhm.
Me actually getting the sleep in because I'm worried about like doing like underdoing or overdoing or like all those things. So that's totally something that's there. But again, the piece here is to stay curious. To stay
Mhm.
curious, realize the things that and I should say that is the piece that's going to help you realize
Mhm.
the things that you need to work on. It's the next step. And obviously, like I do not do this podcast to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm awesome, I'm perfect, blah blah blah." No, I'm still on this planet in a skin suit for crying out loud. And that means I haven't got it all figured out. But I love this piece of staying curious, staying to the truth, and figuring out who you are. Whoa, what a big piece. And this idea of human design is fantastic. So, all right. This was actually something that we got into a little bit before um before we started recording this podcast, but
Mhm.
what about manifesting the life you want?
Yes.
That's such a big piece of
Buzzword. Yep.
human. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
such a big piece of human design. And like Seidel Schultz, I know you know Seidel,
Yes. Yes, she's
right?
one of my certified light field astrologers.
Yes, she was
Mhm.
talking about this stuff, when I had her on, and I was like, aha,
Yes.
okay,
A
I
hundred
can see
percent.
this. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. But it's so fun because there's so many different tools of manifestation. I talk about this in my coaching and in my podcast, and that is your mind, your voice, your energy, your ability to do, your hands. Like there's so many different pieces of creation
Mhm.
that are attached to us that have absolutely no holds barred
Yeah.
on them. And so
Yeah.
I would love to hear, especially like
for me personally, like I like to manifest stuff. Um, how do we manifest the life we want from a life, for a lack of a better word, that feels like it just crumbled to ashes? And this is something I know for a fact you understand.
Yes, I do, very much, repeatedly. So probably the shortest answer, just in general, of how we manifest a life that we want is that we literally just become in sync with the vibration of what it is that we desire, and it can't not come to us. It is a universal law. Now, with human design, the map that it gives us is so easy and clear cut. And I personally have a little bit of a soapbox with this, that like nobody should be teaching or speaking about how to manifest without understanding these basic pieces, because somebody may have figured it out for themselves, but they can be either unhelpful or even harmful to someone else trying to say, well, this is what worked for me, because they spent 10, 15 years trying to unlock that combination lock. And I think we get so hubris when we think like, I figured this out for myself, therefore I have the secret for everybody. And that's
Yeah.
what I love the most about astrology and human design is I can clearly see some things are either or, and some things have a whole spectrum of possibilities. In human design, there is a manifestation center. There's 9 centers in the body graph, and each of the centers, it governs a whole world of energy. Like the head center is about inspiration. The ajna is about thinking. The throat center is the manifestation center. The throat is where we bring about what it is that we desire in this life. It's how we call it in to us. And in human design, you can have a center that's either defined or undefined. If it's defined, you have consistent access to the energy that that center governs. If it's undefined, you have inconsistent access to the energy that that center governs. So you and I both have undefined throat centers. So our manifestation center is undefined, which means it is inconsistent. What this means, well, and it's perfect. It's divine. It's supposed to be that way.
Right.
And it's not like it's a detriment, and it's not like having it defined is like, woohoo, you drew the lucky stick, no.
Yeah.
It's all perfectly ordered. So this is where we get curious. It's like, well, how could having inconsistent access to my manifestation energy be a good thing, right? And it's because having an undefined throat means we need other people. I can't do jack squat by myself. I hate that that's true. Okay, I don't hate it anymore. I hated it when I realized it. But especially because I am what's called a projector on it. I have an undefined sacral and an undefined throat, among others. And so I really can't do anything in and of myself. You are a generator, and you're an emotional generator, and you have an undefined throat. So you need other people in your space. So podcasting is perfect. Having a partner, having, all of that. It could be any one of your kids could help you with that. Just connecting physically with other people's auras, being in their space within 6 feet or so of another person will allow their aura to connect with yours and give you the physical ability to do more. Also, having an undefined throat, funny enough, Seidel Schultz also has an undefined throat, allows you to speak all languages, because you don't have a fixed way that you speak. Like Oprah Winfrey is one of the most commonly referenced people that has an undefined throat. She is one of the most heard women in the entire world. So clearly you don't need to have a defined throat to get things done in the world. But if you notice, her whole, like the bulk of what has made her is she brings other people onto her stage. She works with them. They talk. She shines a massive light on them and shows, this is why this person is amazing. And I think you should go check this out. She can make their whole career just in one hour sit down. And she is able to speak on behalf of many different people, which is what an undefined throat gives you the ability to do. Now, it's not the only place in human design that we find manifestation. There's also 4 arrows at the top, and they point different directions, left or right. It's just either or on those. And there's 4 arrows, and each of them represents a complete world of information. Well, the bottom right arrow, that's the manifestation arrow. That has to do with how you call things into your space. So you could have an undefined throat and you still have your arrow. So if your arrow points left, it's more of a masculine flow. And if it points right, it's more of a feminine flow. If your manifestation arrow points left, you are a specific manifester. And if it points right, you're a non-specific manifester. So what that actually means in English is that if it is left, you need to be very, very detailed and specific about what you want. If it points right, you need to connect to the feeling or have a general idea, but you don't need to know the precision. So you can see how somebody who's teaching about manifestation may be a non-specific manifester, and they're like, you just connect with the feeling and then it comes to you. But a specific manifester, that will trash their ability to manifest. They will not be able to do it. If somebody is trying to pull them out of their specific manifesting, I'm a specific manifester and so are you. And so like I recently wanted a vehicle. I had a lot of emotional stuff to overcome because this was going to be like my first like dream vehicle that I bought because I could have whatever I wanted. And so I love autotrader.com as a specific manifester because you can get in and literally like dial that in like to the nth degree, right? Like, and I knew I wanted, I felt like it was supposed to be white. I knew I wanted a light colored interior. I knew I wanted a sunroof. I knew what rim size I wanted. I knew what drivetrain I wanted. I knew what miles that I was willing to go up to, but not above. I knew the price, I knew the make. I was pretty clear on the model, but I still kind of left that a little bit open. But you can like dial it in. So you get like 4 results for all of 2,000 miles radius. Mm-hmm. And you're like, cool, that's great. Where somebody who's a non-specific manifester might do well to go down to a car lot. And it could even be one that doesn't have a specific make of car. And they just walk around and they test drive cars until they find the feeling that they know that they're going to feel when they drive that car. Now, I ended up getting a Mercedes SUV that ended up being a hybrid, which was really fun with like the panoramic sunroof and all the things. It is the most gorgeous, amazing car of all time to drive. And I'm madly in love with it. And it only had 24,000 miles when I brought it home.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. I named her Pallas, like after the asteroid Pallas Athena. And like, I got emotional about it because I'm an emotional authority like you are also. Mm-hmm. So we can still get emotional, but I also got very specific. And the more specific I got, the more it called it in. And you'll see manifesting teachers that say, get really specific about what you want. And if you're a non-specific manifester, that will never work for you. Mm-hmm. And so we have to recognize not all of us are the same. And like, yes, we know this, but it's like human design and astrology literally gives us the map of like, cool, you are this and I am that. And that makes sense why that works for you. And that makes sense why this works for me. And it's just, would you like a permission slip to be who you are? Because here it is.
Right. You know, and that's really interesting because I think about a couple of things for me, like, when my first little dog died, and she was so cute. We named her Jules. Well, actually, she was named Jules. We got her from another family, and I just loved that dog.
Yeah.
Super obedient, super sweet. And literally, I'm not even joking when I tell you that she died because her heart was too big. Literally, that's why.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, so sweet. She was such a sweet little girl. So I got her, and when she passed away, I was like, I would like another dog, you know, something else fun and furry to love. I didn't get specific, but I totally manifested a dog, but she was a nut. She was insane, right?
You didn't get specific.
Because I
were non-specific as a specific manifester.
Yes.
So the universe said, awesome, send her something that will help her grow.
Yes, and it totally did. And I still love this dog, but man, she was like, you could go outside and you could play ball with that dog all day long and still not tire her out.
Yeah.
Right? I had to keep her outside because she tried to eat my piano. Like, she was just a nut. And she ended up, before she was a year old, breaking her collar and running out in the road and getting hit. And so it was really sad. But it taught me to get specific. And now we've had Topaz for 8 years, you know.
Birthstone.
And it is my birthstone. It is, which is really interesting. But I wanted a calm, chill dog, you know, one that would go on walks with me for long periods of time.
someone like not someone. Well, he isn't my someone. He's a someone. Someone who is obedient, good with kids, easily trainable, very smart, and here's Topaz.
Mm-hmm.
And he's literally my dream dog. And
Yeah.
I even said it would be awesome if I didn't have to pay anything for him, that if I had something I could trade, I would
Mm-hmm.
do that. And that's exactly what I manifested. And it was like,
It's so easy for the universe to serve a specific manifester when you get specific. And it's so easy for the universe to serve a non-specific manifester when you stay true to the feeling of it.
yes. Yes. And it was so interesting too, because I was so excited to get Topaz, and now he's my buddy. I love him. He's just the best.
By the way, I just wanted to throw in a caveat. I said, like, the universe sent you something that would help you to grow. I firmly 10 out of 10 with every fiber of my being believe that we can grow in ease and joy and without chaos. And like, we don't have to manifest or create or allow chaos to be able to grow. I used to believe that. And now I grow effortlessly. I still get to improve. I still get to refine myself. I get the space and emotional freedom to stay curious, which gives me the greatest growth, more than the chaos and the just instability. I had so much instability in my life. Yeah. And now my life is beautifully stable.
Yes. And you know what? I'm still finding a lot of that stability. But like you, I completely agree with you. Like, you don't have to have the instability and the craziness. And, one of the things I tell my clients is it's like you've got your home. You've got the upstairs and you've got the basement. Your upstairs is nice and clean and ordered. It is the colors you want. It's got the candles and the kitchen just right. Like, you've got it exactly the way you want it. But there's
Pottery Barn catalog.
yes, but there's something coming up from the basement. There's a stink there. And, and that's kind of where I'm at sometimes, because I still have to go down to my basement and clean it out. And, if you think about, like, the difference, not only just in the astrology and the human design, which I'm getting very interested in, to be honest with you, but also in your conscious and your subconscious mind. Your subconscious drives so much of what you do that if you don't get down and think about what's going on and like where your results are at and why they are that way, I completely do not believe that your results are the way, like, if you're getting negative results, they're not that because of your 100%. Human design, right?
You have to, well, and funny you say, because in human design, if you look at a body graph, there's a row of black and there's a row of red, and there's all these black and red lines in it. The black is your conscious self and the red is your unconscious self. So like consciously, so because we both are gate 9, because we're both the same birthday, we are consciously the gate of focus is what it's called. And so we are here to focus, to really like get into it, even to the details. Unconsciously, you and I both are the gate of aloneness, or I like the gate of restoration is also what it's called. And so unconsciously, we have a drive to be alone.
I can see that.
to retreat and restore. And so there's this whole unconscious thing that we usually don't become aware of until we're about 40 to 45. And that's when we can kind of start to harness it a lot more consistently. But this has been really enlightening for me to lean into that. I need way more alone time than I ever thought, because if you had known me as a child or a teenager or even in my 20s, largely through my 30s, I looked like the most social creature on the planet. It turns out that wasn't necessarily aligned, and it filled some needs in a way that was not the most effective way to fill those needs, but it filled some needs. But a lot of that was being driven by, I need to be approved of. I need people to tell me that I'm XYZ. I need to know that I am worthy of people's affection, adoration, blah, 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 blah. Now I give that to myself. I get it from my great and powerful God. And I have really high quality connections in my life. And so that creates that stability. But yes, in human design, there is literally like 13 different placements that tell you all about the flow of your unconscious self.
That is so cool. That really is. And like I love hearing about this and learning about this because there's so much detail to every single person. And I love taking on clients and working with them and getting into my intuition and helping them find like manifest time, manifest money, manifest relationships, and manifest all this good stuff coming from a place of I feel so betrayed. Like what a beautiful story, you know, to help people come through. And then, to add in this human design element to it, it feels so okay. Betrayal trauma I've heard, and I've felt this way before. I've heard this from clients that it feels so personal, right? But what a better way to let something feel so personal to you than the absolute beautiful, fabulous goddess, God that you truly are.
Mhm.
And, I love hearing this because it's so intentional to that message.
For
That
sure.
that is what is personal
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
world.
Yeah, it's people say that they wish that they had the map, or they're trying to be who they think that they should be. Like, I just want to figure out who I am. So many people I work with have that.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out most of those people have an undefined identity center, which means you are literally never going to know who you are in this life, and you're not supposed to. And you're supposed to be different based on who you're around. Your identity center is defined. And so, on some level, your whole life, you haven't ever wondered who you are. You know who you are. I have an undefined identity center. I change constantly. I change based on who I'm around, and I'm supposed to. I am the chameleon. So is my sweet husband. And when you put our designs together, we don't define each other's identity center, which I just think is so poetic that like neither of us tells the other person who to be. And you bring in a third person in the conversation, and both of us are liable to be completely different people based on that third energy that gets brought into the conversation. And I love knowing this. Like on an intuitive level, I know these things, but I love being like, look, there it is. Like it's right there. I can feel it, but now I have language
Now
and I
I
know
have
what's
the
going
proof.
on. Yeah.
Yes, I love this. Oh my gosh, such a fun, what a fun topic.
Oh,
Really,
endless,
seriously.
endless levels of conversation. And I have yet to run somebody's chart that I don't blow their mind or create some kind of life-changing awareness just because it is that potent.
Yeah, it is. I can sense that. I can totally sense that. It was very interesting talking to Seidel as well. And for those of you that are listening to this podcast, she's go back through the
Mm-hmm.
podcast episodes, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
Seidel in there as well. So, Naomi, thank you so much for being here. What a fun and fantastic podcast. Like, ooh, I'm just like getting all these fun little light-filled energy balls, hitting me right now.
Perfect.
Where do people find you?
So I am on Facebook. I have a really robust Facebook group called Light Filled Astrology and Human Design. That's definitely it. I have a free mini course. If you go to illuxology.com, that's ILLUXOLOGY.com, you can get my free mini course on Light Filled Astrology and Human Design. I have a 3-hour video course on astrology. I have a 5-hour video course on light filled human design. And I also certify and train light filled astrologers so that they can be certified light filled astrologers and go out, because I firmly believe that the world needs more light filled astrologers.
I would agree. What a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Naomi, for being here. For those of you that would like to learn more about who you are in this astrology, check out Naomi because she's got some good stuff for you. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will see you guys next week for a fantastic episode. And we are going to be talking about feeling lonely and creating the connections you desire. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Bye. Okay, so I've got a question for you. Have you joined my free Facebook group or Instagram page yet? If you haven't, go and do that. And this is the reason why. I always post my freebies, updated information, and all kinds of goodies for my community in that page. I'm also really active. I post videos, I answer questions. So if you guys really, really want to get in and interact with me, go like me on Facebook, go join my group, The Other Side of the Struggle, Healing from Betrayal Trauma. Come find me on Instagram, Erin Anderson, Betrayal Trauma Coach, and come follow me because I always have something good there just for you, my audience, and I love connecting with you there. I also post anytime that I have groups going on. I talk sometimes about my programs. So if you guys are interested in working with me or even just following me and getting as much free content as you possibly can, go hang out in my group. Go connect with the ladies that are there. Also come and join Immune and Unashamed for those married couples that are following me, because in that group, me and my business partner, Kaisen Kidd, are also talking and offering some great content in there. So go join up. I hope to see you on the other side of the struggle. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna be